one person with a healthy diet, not one. And this was ages 2 to age 80, 16,000 people. A vast majority were deficient in 11 out of 14 nutritional categories. Guess what the number one shortage was? Vegetables.
Oh, of course, right? Vegetables.
So when you look at where most of the nutrients come in our foods, vegetables outweigh everything else 10 to 1.
Right.
And so if you have a low level of vegetables in your diet, then you're going to have a weakened immune system. So is it any surprise that Stanford looked at the metabolic health of adults and said, wait a minute, 88% of the ones that we surveyed don't have enough immunity to resist this virus. So these kinds of studies are now consistent from the National Cancer Institute, from Stanford, from even the Centers for Disease Control says that up 95% of people don't get a healthy diet. So everybody knows it, but doctors don't mention it when they when the patients come to them. They just say, oh, your score says you have this high cholesterol or you have this high blood sugar, you have this, here's a prescription drug and we'll lower that. Well, we already discussed why that treating those symptoms is not the best way.
Yes. What is the most consumed food for most people in their diets, other than sugar?
Other than sugar, well, I would have to say it's probably saturated fat because again, it tastes good. All right, and so anytime you can have anything with that fatty taste in it, the body goes, the taste buds go, wow, that's great. Give me some more of that. And so whether it's dairy products or whether it's saturated fat from any of the other kinds of foods that animals are basically where the saturated fat comes from. So that's why people are saying, well, I think I should eat more vegetarian food, more vegetables. Well, that's true. The only problem with that is we do need some amino acids. And amino acids is a protein that comes from these animals. The problem is all meat is not equal. And so on the list of the least healthy foods, it's animals from four-legged animals. Then
Right.
it's the two-legged animals are the next healthy. That's the poultry. And then the fish are the most healthy. And beyond that, the omega fish are the most healthy. So protein has a pecking order. So if you want to get your amino acids, get it mostly from the omega fish, and then other fish, and then poultry, organic poultry. Get 90% from those sources. Leave the meat alone. If you have to have a piece of meat once or twice a month, have some organic grass-fed beef. It has higher levels of omega-3 in it, and because the body's just not designed to process animal meat protein like that, animal meat protein. We don't have the enzymes. We don't have the teeth for chewing. Our teeth are designed for nuts and seeds. And when you see what the dogs and the cats have, they have those canine teeth. They have those teeth that are grabbers, and they're the ones that are made to eat animals. We were never designed to eat animals. It happened many thousands of years ago, and we do get nutrients from those things, but not as good as the nutrients right from the vegetables.
So what happens to that food, that meat that we eat? What happens to it in our bodies? Like where? I mean, I'm thinking, but I'm thinking I know where it's going to go. But I'm just wondering, how does it just sit there? What happens?
It takes a long time to process meat. All right, up to 2 days.
Wow.
I kid you not. Some really difficult meats can take up to 2 days in a digestive system that's not working as well as it should, because you literally have to have a lot of stomach acid that breaks down the food as much as possible. Then you have to have some protease, which is the enzyme that helps to break it down further. And so when you have vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds, when they're chewed properly, they get through the body within a half an hour to an hour into the digestive system. Now, it takes another 12 to 15 hours to process the whole thing and get it out of the system. But meat takes a lot longer. It stays in the intestines longer. And the longer that a food like that stays in the intestines, the more that can irritate the lining of the intestines and create polyps. And that's where colon cancer comes from, this irritation of these acidic foods, such as the animals, that come in through our system and stay in the gut too long. And so if you don't move it out in a timely manner, then you're going to get this irritation in the intestines, and that irritation leads to eventually a colon cancer.
Yeah. So what about dairy products? What about milk and cheese and eggs? What's your take on those?
I remember telling a nurse about 30 years ago that I suspected that dairy products cause breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And the irony of that is 20 years later, and she told me I was out of my mind. I had no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, 20 years later, she got breast cancer. And wow. And of course, thankfully she survived and is doing well. I haven't communicated with her since. But last week, there was one of the first definitive studies that cow's milk does cause breast cancer. And so wow. We've known for a long time that animal products were one of the main causes of cancer. But when you have that direct relationship now between cow's milk and breast cancer, it's kind of, well, the cow molecule is too big. This is one of the problems.
Oh, I see.
Meant to have big molecules so that their muscles and bones can develop quickly, because in the wild those animals have to run quickly because there's predators. But just going down to a smaller animal that produces dairy, like a goat or a sheep, you get a smaller molecule that is more acceptable to the body than the cow molecule is. And so just getting the smaller molecule with less pesticides and less steroids and less of all of the bad stuff that's added is actually better for young people. So my grandchildren on cow and sheep milk. And then after their bones are fully developed, then they go into a different kind of milk, like a rice milk or some other milk.
That is so interesting. And of course, our time just whizzes by all the time when we're on a podcast with such an interesting guest as yourself. But this is not the end. We have another podcast coming up, part 2. And you write and speak about body system markers that we should pay attention to help protect and build better immune systems. And this is the topic of our next podcast with you. Can you give us a little of what we're going to be discussing? Just a snippet. Just a snippet.
Okay. I've developed a test, a blood and urine test that has 10 markers in it. And it looks like these 10 markers will give you as good a measure of how strong your immune system is than any other list of blood and urine markers known of. And I just give you one teaser: vitamin D3. Oh. We know that vitamin D3 levels will help to protect women. If you have high enough levels of vitamin D3 in women, you reduce your risk of breast cancer by 77%, and prostate cancer in men by 86%. Vitamin D3 is not only preventative because it's part of the genetic code that we all have. And the genetic code for vitamin D3 protects hundreds and hundreds of our cells and of our genes in our body against cancer. And guess what? It also protects you against flu.
Oh,
and so vitamin
we like
D3 is just one that if you have the right levels of vitamin D3 in your body, you will have an amazing protection against cancer and flu and a lot of other chronic illnesses. So we're going to talk about the 10 different measures that you can actually use to get an accurate picture of how strong your immune system is.
I'm excited. Dr. BENS, thank you so much for being on Yin Yoga Lifestyle today. And I'm certainly looking forward to part 2 of your amazing discussion. And because we can protect our health by taking your advice and the health of our loved ones during these times of absolute uncertainty. And if you would like more information about Dr. Charles BENS, you can visit drcharlesbens.com. Many thanks again, Dr. Charles, for being here with us today on Yin Yoga Lifestyle. And please Don't forget to check us out at yinyogalifestyle.com for free yin yoga videos, a blog, and where you can sign up for online yin yoga classes with me, Colette Darville, and you get your first class for free. We can get you started on your yin yoga routine. It's that easy. Thanks again, Dr. BENS, for being here today.
Thank you, Colette. It flew like it was just a few minutes.
It was. Thank you for joining Yin Yoga Lifestyle, adding enlightenment, calm, balance, and creativity to your everyday life. I am your host, Colette Darville.
Join us next time to continue our journey of balancing into a state of perfect harmony. Until then, this is Colette Darville, reminding you to inhale, so, and exhale, hum.